Hey everybody, this is Jewel. Just wanted to share a few moments with you and just give you a glimpse into some of the thoughts that are rolling around in my brain. Specifically, the word I want to focus on today is fear. Yesterday, I overcame a fear. I fell back into some old thinking, some feelings of feeling unworthy, feelings of rejection, and I overcame it really quickly because I took action and I overcame the fear. I picked up the phone, I made the phone call, I took a deep breath, and it was like, oh my gosh, Jewel, really? What were you thinking? We are all creatures of habit, and this thing called fear is a monster. And it wants attention. It wants to be seen. It wants to be heard. We all have a David in us that needs to rise up and face the giant, face the fear. What is that thing that you are avoiding and running from? Because as long as you're running from it, avoiding it, living in fear, you are a prisoner. You are a hostage. And the minute you stand still, flat-footed, and you confront that thing that you're afraid of, it loses its grip and power over you. Yesterday was, to some people it would mean nothing, but for me it was another opportunity to see where I needed to grow and to realize that that monster is always lurking there somewhere on our shoulder, wanting attention, screaming, making noise, a big boogeyman. And then when we say, wait a minute, hold up, I will not let you steal my joy, my purpose, my destiny, my peace of mind, my confidence. And that's what I had to do yesterday. Fear wants attention. And when you face it, when you confront it, it no longer has power over you. What is that thing that you are avoiding? What is that thing that is hanging over your head? What is that thing that you don't want to talk about? You don't want to think about it because it has a hold on you. It becomes a stronghold. Right in front of me is my book called Shift, S-H-I-F-T, Shift Happens. And I talk about how either we're living by faith or we're living by fear. That faith and optimism are hand in hand. And I would say 90% of my life, 90% of my brain is wired for faith and optimism. And every once in a while, that 10% of fear and pessimism just creeps in. And I'm so glad that I'm aware when it happens because fear is just a feeling. But if we don't deal with it, it becomes a behavior. I'm going to say that again. If you do not confront your fears and realize it's just a feeling, that feeling converts into a behavior where you walk around full of anxiety. You walk around with a dark cloud over you. You walk around feeling like something's going to happen to you. And so faith and optimism will cause you to react to setbacks with the expectation of getting some results and relief because of your faith, your personal power, and your efforts. So you see, when you're living by faith and you're optimistic that it's going to work out, you continue to move forward because you expect some results. You expect a turnaround. You expect something positive to happen. You see your difficulties as a temporary setback. You don't identify yourself as a failure. You know that it's a temporary situation. And even if it's a permanent situation, you don't see it as a condemnation, a victimization. You don't isolate yourself and you don't become overwhelmed. You begin to walk by faith and not by sight. You see, the devil wears red Prada shoes, but those of us that walk by faith, we don't wear those shoes. We wear the shoes that God says I got to keep on stepping. I got to keep on moving. I got to pray with my hands and pray with my feet. Now, faith and optimism are hand in hand, but fear and pessimism are hand in hand. Fear and pessimism are emotional quicksand. The person who lives with fear reacts to setbacks with an attitude of helplessness, unworthiness, and spiritual bankruptcy. See, they can't even sign a check of faith because they have non-sufficient faith, NSF. The faith is gone. There's none there. And so they react instead of respond. When you have faith, when you're optimistic, you respond. You don't react, you respond, and you say something, you do something, you affirm something, you declare something, you speak it into the atmosphere, you pick up the phone, you do something, but you don't run, you don't react. So fear and pessimism are like emotional quicksand. You find yourself sinking and sinking and sinking and feeling very stuck and overwhelmed and helpless. This person feels like a victim and they begin to blame others or they blame themselves. They beat themselves up or they beat up the world and they feel like the world is against them because they're living in fear and pessimism. So what fears are you willing to face today? Are you willing to let the David in you rise up? You see, the story of David killing the giant. His stone did not hit his elbow or his knee or his stomach. The stone hit his head. Because see, the stone that you need to cast to kill the fear has got to kill your thinking. Yeah. You got to kill that thinking of, I can't do it. It's overwhelming. It's unfair. Why is this happening to me? Doomsday thinking, all or nothing thinking. That's what fear is. It's either all good or it's all bad. But when you live with faith and you live with optimism, you respond to the situation. You stand up straight, you throw your shoulders back, and you say, okay, come on, let's deal with it. Let's deal with it. Let's respond. Let's say something, do something. Let's pray. Let's make some phone calls. Let's do the paperwork. Let's ask the right questions. Let's show up. Faith says, let me show up because I'm not running from the fight. The fight is fixed when you have faith. This is Jewel Diamond Taylor, and I hope that you will visit my website, donotgiveup.net, and get my books, Shift Happens, Wisdom for Women, Follow Your Heart, but Take Your Brain With You. I've written several books, and I would love to get them in your personal library. This is one of the ways that you build up your faith is building up your personal library and making those great deposits in your mind so that your thinking is transformed, because when your thinking is transformed, then your doing is transformed. You do things differently when you think differently. This is what I love sharing with other people is as a faith builder, as someone who believes in building up your resiliency muscles, it's all about thinking and doing, aligning your thoughts with your actions, aligning your actions with what you're thinking. And if you think like a victim, you'll act like a victim. Thank you so much for watching today. God bless you and stay in the light.